You were famously a dynamic football player in college. Won the Heisman, as we discussed. Give Simon and I, give us your favorite, most dynamic college football players you've personally seen, sort of your five faves, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, I mean, from my time, is the guys that I've seen in person or guys that I've seen on film or like just college football in general.
I would say guys that you've seen in our generation, say going back the past 20 years, because the game changes so much, right? So, like, the way you were playing it is different than the way, people were playing it in the 1970s. People will go back and say, Archie Griffin is one of the greatest college football players ever. Different game. So, let's think about it in the context of today's game.
I think guys who changed the game a lot, guys who were the most fun and electric that I got to watch. I think Reggie Bush is very, very high up at the top of that list. I think the guy who finished number two in the Heisman that year is just an absolute electric player who was a guy who I modeled a lot of my game after. But Vince Young was a guy who was an absolute legend. I loved watching Tavon Austin when he was at West Virginia. That guy really, really, really moved the needle. A guy that a lot of people forget about that I loved to watch was DeAnthony Thomas at Oregon around my time, was an absolute stud. And then, last, the guy you have to give so much credit to for changing the way that the whole quarterback game was like really played, as far as like the era that we're in now, right? I think you can't have a list of exciting college football players without having Lamar Jackson on that list.
That's right. God,
And that's
Tavon
that's that's
Austin and DeAnthony Thomas. You forget about DeAnthony Thomas.
beast, an absolute beast. Just watching him and some of the plays that he made at Oregon was just crazy. Another guy that's forgot about who was in my class who was amazing at Ohio State. I loved watching Braxton Miller. I thought Braxton Miller, he was the number one quarterback coming out of my class, ended up going to Ohio State. There's still a spin move that he hit that I still can play in my head any day. That the guy was just an absolute freak, that he was at Ohio State. And college football is so hard, man. You can't, negate it to five, especially over 20 years. Like over the last 20 years, there's been probably, you know, 15, 20 guys that have truly, truly moved the needle. And it's not just a quarterback, not just a running back, receiver. Like the college game, the beauty of it is you get to see so much raw talent, against every single Saturday. So it's an unbelievable game, one that I love watching, and excited to see what this next season up brings too.